Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Today, I want to open up the can of worms a little bit more on the medium of exchange. One of the last episodes I did was I gave a real basic overview on what Bitcoin is, and inside that topic, the topic was like the little history lesson I gave. It was only a 5-minute thing, but I think we can open up that a bit more for just so we can really get a grasp on what the fiat system versus the Bitcoin system, how broken that really is. So if you haven't watched that episode, I'll just give a real quick brief overview, right? So all through the history of money, there's been different medium of exchanges. The medium of exchange is just a object or something that you can physically hold, digitally hold in the way of Bitcoin. And it's just something that you can trade. You can trade something at a later date. So instead of, I give that example of, someone might have traded a cow with 1 million eggs, but obviously the need for 1 million eggs, they would be rotten by the time you would try to eat the last one, or maybe the 36th one. So the trade between a cow and 1 million eggs can't exist without a medium of exchange, because someone might eat 1 million eggs over their lifetime, or their family, whoever. 1 million eggs is probably a bit of an extreme example, but you get the point. So the need for a medium of exchange is so we can sell the cow, and it holds $1 million worth of value in the way of 1 million eggs, and we can periodically purchase those eggs at a later stage as they get laid, through your 100 years of life. That's what the use of a medium of exchange is. So that is the basis of money. So it's just a medium of exchange. What makes a medium of exchange valuable is its ability to be physically dominant through, storms, weather, wind, loss, being stolen, those sort of things. That's the physical factor. There has to be it doesn't have to have an intrinsic value, but gold has an intrinsic value, so it's not just used for medium of exchange. It can also hold other values. And the other thing that money, or what makes good and sound money, is it has to use some form of energy, or it has to have some form of effort and some sort of scarcity for it to be valuable. So they're the three sort of pillars that make up a good medium of exchange, something that will hold its value over time. Because let's just look at the fiat system. So in the fiat system, we know that things, the money gets printed, it debases the currency. So I'll go off that topic. Just hold that thought for a sec. If we go to one of my previous episodes about the tree example. So if we have a tree, I like to use the metaphor I think it's a metaphor. I'm illiterate, so bear with me if my English is shocking. I like to use that example as an apple tree, because it's something physical that grows out of the ground. It's hard to manipulate how many apples come off that tree. It grows in the ground, and it spits off, 10 apples. There's $1 in the system. Each apple's 10 cents each. If you now add $10 into the system, which is the fractional reserve system, 10-1, the apple trees the apple doesn't produce any more apples on that tree. The apple tree doesn't produce any more apples. So if there's $10 in the system chasing the 10 apples, then each apple becomes $1 each. So that's the way fiat systems get that's what inflation is. It's built into the system. So what I'm getting at when it comes to medium of exchange is, if we look at the purchasing you're trading a cow for whatever it is, like in dollar terms, you might say, I'm going to trade a cow for whatever it is, $1,000. At that time, at that moment in time, that $1,000 could buy you those 1 million eggs. This math is not going to math, but let's just go with the math. So at that moment in time, that $1,000, you sold that cow, and it could have bought you 1,000,000 eggs. But as time progresses, the eggs become more expensive because the currency is being debased. So they're adding more money into the pot. So your $1,000 that you put under your mattress for your pile of eggs for your lifetime, it won't buy you 1,000,000 eggs by the time you get to the end of your lifespan, because the eggs are becoming progressively more expensive. So therefore, the fiat system cannot be money, because it defeats the purpose of it being a medium of exchange. So the actual system itself, people say, oh, money, like paper money is money. Like, if you're on the fractional reserve system, the actual thing that it's trying to be is destroying the thing that it's trying to be. So it's like the complete purpose of money is to be a medium of exchange for goods and services at a later date. So if you equate that to anything, if you equate it back to even further than if it's a cow traded for some dollars to buy some eggs, if you go even further and say, like, I'm a carpenter, I'm trading my time, because instead of me being at home or being with my family, I'm sacrificing my time for that money, and that money can then allow me to be I can buy that time back in the future. I might be able to go on a holiday or something with my family. So if I sacrifice time now, I can purchase my time back at a later date off of someone else that's trading their time to provide goods and services. So the problem with the fiat system is your time is being robbed from you, because if I sacrifice 40 hours a week, and I sacrifice my 40 hours for my $1,200 a week, and I'm sacrificing 40 hours for $1,000, and I need to purchase those 40 hours back at a later time, when maybe I'll save up for a couple of years and I can go on holiday with my family. I can't purchase 40 hours back with the $1,000 that I have anymore, because everything's gone up in price. So that's why everyone becomes more depressed. That's why everyone becomes more broke. That's where all these mental problems like that. It's all linked back to the fiat system. If you haven't, like I've said on the last one, I read the Bitcoin Standard, and that goes into the history of money. And I'm just listening to the next book of Saifedean Ammous. He's got a book called The Fiat Standard, and it goes so much deeper than just Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or the history of money. The Fiat Standard, there's a lot more context in that book, because obviously the fiat systems existed for centuries, and it's not just in modern history, like in the last 100 years, because the fractional reserve was created in 1914 or something in America, and then eventually when we got to 1972 we went off the gold standard. And that's where, if you just look at gold charts, if you look at any sort of charts, if you look at 1972, where we removed the dollar from the gold, so we literally stopped backing the currency from physical things that we were digging up, that effort that we were taking to create those dollars, you see that everything skyrockets after 1972. That's just because we come off the gold standard. All those graphs, you think that you're making a lot of money or gold's gone up in price. The gold hasn't gone up in price. You just need the more amount of fiat dollars to purchase the same amount of gold. That's all it is. Same as real estate. So when I'm reading the Fiat Standard, it goes into things like fiat food. So it all comes down to what nutrients do we give our bodies, and all these type of things. And it's all linked to the fiat system, because if, say, McDonald's, they used to have their chips in beef tallow with salt. So potatoes, beef tallow and salt. Not that bad for you. No matter what anyone's going to come at me in the comments and saturated fat's bad, just go down the wormhole. You'll see that. Just read any independent studies that Cholesterol's good for you, it's not bad for you. LDL's not bad for you. Your body creates cholesterol. I'm not going to go into that wormhole, okay? But the fiat food is like, it's just the money system. So like McDonald's, has to still be profitable as a business. So what they'll do is, if the fiat system starts inflating everything, like the price of beef goes up, the price of potatoes go up, they have to start coming up with creative ways to still deliver the same product, so the customer or the consumer is still satisfied with the product and still pay the same price, but they have to slowly dumb down something. They have to dumb down the size of it, or they'll have to dumb down the quality. So, they, before 1972 or before 1914 or whenever McDonald's first existed, I guarantee that, those two McDonald's brothers, they would have just put 100% ground beef in there, slice of cheese, nothing that unhealthy for you. Eat one of those hamburgers, you're going to get an actual decent amount of nutrients. Now, they've had to commercialise and industrialise the process because it's a cheaper way of, taking, maybe 10% of the beef and then adding all these other ingredients like soy and all these things. And ultimately that creates people to be more unhealthy. People that don't have enough nutrients get more depressed. It's all linked to the money system. So when it comes to excuse me, when it comes to medium of exchange, I think it's very important for you guys to get a grasp on why, there's so many things out there. Once you see this, you can't unsee this. So it's literally everywhere you look, every single way you look. And then because I'm an Australian, we'll talk about some Australian things. But in the fiat standard, it talks a lot about the medium of exchange. And when that medium of exchange, or that sound money that now doesn't exist, once you get rid of sound money, you don't have to use your energy to create it. You can just press a button and create future dollars. That's all it is. That's what debt is. It's a promise to the future that you will pay it back. When you get a mortgage, you're promising the bank, over the next 30 years, I promise I'll pay you back. Okay? So it's not like wealth creation to press the money printer button, but everyone has this belief and this dogma that you have to, you've got to invest, and you do have to invest to hold your store of value, but it's only in the fiat system that you have to do that. If you're on the Bitcoin standard, it's a deflationary system. That's a different topic for a different day. But when it comes to like Australian real estate, people keep poking fingers and saying investor this and negative gear that and land tax this and greedy landlord, and I can fully see everyone's frustration. I totally get it. I'm going to be transparent. I'm 36 years old. I got one house. I got one investment property. Okay. I would probably admit that being an investor or being a homeowner there's no need, as a human being, there's no need for two houses unless your family's like 10, the size of, 10 people or more, alright? But there's no reason for a human being to own two houses, to go rent one to someone else so I can be more profitable. But like I said before, with the money system being broken and sound money disappears, what happens when sound money disappears? This is what Saifedean says in the book. When the money's broken, other things become money. Other things become a store of value. So at the moment in Australia, because the money system is so broke, like not as in broke as in it doesn't have any money, like it doesn't have any value. I mean broke as in it's like it's broken, it's snapped in half. Because the money system's broken, other things start becoming the money. So the real estate market is the money. That's the real value of what everything is. So everyone's, and it does create a massive wealth divide, because for someone like me, I worked my ass off to get, one house and then one investment property. And the only reason why I've found that I needed to get an investment property is because the money that I am earning as a skilled person that has done years of being an apprentice and then years of, studying my craft, that is not enough. That's the money that I'm, the time that I'm investing, or the time that I'm sacrificing to go to work. I'm not buying the same amount of time back. I'm not buying the same amount of value. I'm not buying the same amount of groceries than when I traded that time for that money. That's why everybody feels broke. And the only true reason, whether you understand this or not, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, you're going to have to do some of your own research. But the only reason, even instinctively, that people that don't know how the money system works, you will find yourself trying to park your money for it to hold its value, whether you understand the money system or not. You will instinctively do that without you even realizing it. So people, a lot of people that don't know how to invest or something, you notice them also, someone that buys junk or buys collectibles, buys Pokemon cards, buys anything. What they're trying to do is they're basically trying to swap their fiat dollars for something else that actually holds its value. And that's all what Australian real estate. That's what anything. That's all it is. All it is someone trying to hold their own value in their money, and that's why I'm so bullish on Bitcoin. I literally just bought $100 of Bitcoin just as a test transaction, but I'm going to be purchasing the next purchase I make once I've worked out how to use it and I can get it off an exchange and put it into my cold wallet and all these things. Then I'm happy to, if I've got money laying around, I'm going to store it in Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's the opposite system of the fiat system. And we can live in a parallel world, and I'm going to advocate this more on this channel as I learn about Bitcoin. And people are going to think I'm crazy, but you can keep going down the fiat route, because I don't want this channel to be depressing, because this is the money mindset show. But a lot of these topics are depressing when you talk about them, and the government tries to. I'll give you a stat, right? I did my own calcs. I might even try and put this up on the screen, right? So the money that's printed in the system, or any money that's created, it's all packaged debt. Okay, so like whatever words you want to put around it, if you want to put student loan relief, you want to put first home buyers stimulus, or you want to put Medicare, or you want to put I don't know, like road budgets, or all these things. They are just a wording around a package debt. So like the way that you create money is you just are creating a debt product for someone to agree, yes, that's a good idea, and then they can approve that, and then we can print that money. That's all that is. So the thing that's really bad with Australian real estate is we're not creating. Sorry, let me back up a bit. The reason why that could be a good thing or a bad thing, when we print future dollars, we have to make sure that those future dollars are being spent in our country and are producing that amount of value, which is GDP, which is gross domestic produce, I think, product, whatever that is, GDP. Like it's your productivity, sorry. So if your printing dollars don't match your GDP, then you are basically, you've printed $1,000 to build something that only needed to be $500. So therefore those if you have a surplus or you're wasting money, that just inflates the assets because there's more money going around for for people to chase those, chasing the same products. It's money that's just floating around the system waiting to be parked. Everybody knows, like, holy shit, we don't get rid of this money. Sorry, excuse me. I'm going to drink from my absurdly big drink bottle. That's better. If we don't park our money in something that's going to hold its value, we're personally going to lose out. So all these dollars that are floating around, that if there's nowhere to spend them because there's nothing to invest in, no products, no what's the word I'm looking for? No projects to put that money against, then we're not using our future dollars. That's what you're doing when you're printing money. You're printing future dollars, and the next generations have to pay for that. So you got to make sure it's a very you have to be very responsible if you're the money printer. And unfortunately, the people that are at the money printer are not very responsible, because if they make some bad decisions, that's going to impoverish the next generation or generations. So when it comes to Australian real estate, at least for one example, it's quite bad, because all they're doing is, they'll print all these dollars. There's nothing, and there's no products there. They're not creating, they're not creating new projects that we can work on. Then we end up just taking those dollars and we end up buying houses with them, because you're giving us free money and you're letting us do whatever we want with it, but we don't really need it right now. We got good wages. We don't need all that money really. So we park it in real estate. But then that good money that we earn originally, we park all that money in real estate, then people can't afford houses, they can't afford rentals. So they're also business owners, so that flows through to their business. They have to put their price up, which creates inflation, and the whole cycle starts again. So when the money's broken, other things become the money, i.e. real estate. So they print money where it's got nowhere to go, which inflates the asset. A house that's 500, it gets inflated to $1 million. Then the bank all of a sudden says, hey, that's now randomly worth, on their decision, that's randomly worth $1 million, and we're going to now write a brand new loan, which is more money created, which never existed before. So someone had a $500,000 loan, and now they're going to write $1 million loan for that house. That new owner gets $1 million loan for the same property that's actually old. It's 10 years older than when the first person bought it. And then the other person gets their $500,000. They get their old loan paid out, and then they get another $500,000 cash. And that's how apparently wealth is created. So the whole system is basically just one giant big impoverishment of the next person. So you're not going to hear this from anyone else. Like most property owners and stuff, like it's property owners or it's property investors. Like we're all I'm both. Like we're all responsible. We're all guilty of doing this, but it's not your fault. I'm not saying it's anyone's fault. I'm just saying that's the system. But if you don't want to be in the system, you can be in the Bitcoin system, and that will be another episode for another day. It's a different topic. But hey, I'm just trying to educate you guys, or trying to get you guys to open up your minds on, why do the things keep going up in value? What is it? People just point the finger because they don't understand the system. They don't understand that the money's being debased. They don't understand fractional reserve banking. They don't understand how, fractional reserve banking is borrowing 10 to $1. And those 10 to $1, while we're on the subject of banking and fractional reserve, your money in the bank is just a promissory note. So if you get a loan from the bank, you are promising to pay that money back. But also, when you deposit your money into the bank and they are lending it out, they are also promising you that when you come back to the bank, they'll give it to you. Because when you put your money in the bank, they lend your money out. It's gone. It's not there anymore. So that $10 note or that $50 note that you have physically in your hand, that piece of plastic or that piece of paper, that's just a promissory note that the bank has your money. That's all it is. It's not like once you put your money in the bank, that's not your money anymore. The bank just promises. They've got to promise it, like they've got to promise that they'll pay you back. It's just same as when they lend you money. You got to promise them that you'll pay it back. That's all it is. So, but it's just strange to think that, the mere existence of money is because of it needs to be a medium of exchange for goods and services. That the fiat system, the very system that money is it's what it's not. It's like, that blew me away when I just unpacked that. I only just unpacked that the other day, like in my brain. I was like, I need to get that out. The main, it's just the medium of exchange, and it's not even. It can't even do that. And then because it's broken, everything else becomes the money. So why things go up in value is the money is broken. There's nothing else to it. But on the Bitcoin standard, the money isn't broken. There's no need for a bank. You are the bank if you own Bitcoin. If you're your own, you've got your own seed phrase. You've got your own words. No one else can steal them. They're inside your head, and you're responsible for your own money. And you can choose to borrow against it or not. It doesn't really matter. But the your savings, or if you buy Bitcoin today, you'll gain value the longer you hold it. So because it's fiat's a unlimited supply of infinite. They keep printing it to infinite. It just keeps getting more and more and more. The Bitcoin system has a cap of 21 million, and it's infinitely going to zero. I don't even know if that's. I keep saying infinitely to zero, but it is going to zero. So the supply is getting less and less. So it's the complete opposite of the fiat system. And that means that if you hold on to Bitcoin, so if I buy one Bitcoin today at whatever it is, 170,000 Aussie dollars, one Bitcoin, that $170,000 I spend today, if I don't decide to spend that today and I want to hold that medium of exchange because I don't need that $175,000 today, but I might need it in the future. If I hold that Bitcoin into the future for 10 years, that $175,000 in today's terms, that will be worth more in the future than what I first traded my time for. So it's the opposite. So the longer in the Bitcoin world, the longer that you hold on to your Bitcoin before you spend it as a medium of exchange, the more it will buy you. So you're incentivized to save your money. So people get wealthier over time. So that's why I'm excited about Bitcoin, because it is an out. I see it as definitely an out, but it's only an out for the people that get it and they want to understand it. So I can't explain it in one video, and this wasn't really about Bitcoin, but I thought I'd still add this in at the end. So yeah, I think eventually it's hard. You can't expect someone to learn Bitcoin when they don't even know the old system that we're all in. They don't understand that the fiat system's fucking them. you know. So you can't expect someone to know Bitcoin and understand that, you know, what's wrong with the fiat system. Yeah, everything gets more expensive. We all know that. It's like, yeah, well, it doesn't have to be that way. There's no need, you know, the money's broken. There's no need for us to make the housing money. There's no need for the grocery bills to go up. There's no need to be both going to work plus side hustles to buy a smaller house for more money. Like, we can keep going down that route and keep impoverishing the next generations, which is your own kids, guys. I've got some videos on here on how, you know, breaking down like an investment property and like my personal, basically not my exact numbers, but I'd give you like a rough, you know, just some basic math on like how property investing works in Australia. And you know, when I first figured it out, I wanted to get 10 investment properties because I felt that, you know, if you don't play the game, you're going to get played. But if you you know, then I kept digging, keep following the numbers. I'm big on math, and that's why I love Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is just math. There's nothing else to it, you know. It's infinitely divisible. So even one Bitcoin is enough for everyone if you can infinitely divide it into a million, trillion, quadrillion pieces. Like, you don't need an infinite amount of dollars for everyone. You need an infinite amount of divisibility for everyone to have the correct amount of money. So if we can all slowly get on that path, then I think we could, you know, possibly, you know, the world would probably be a better place. We don't need to be doing two jobs and side hustles and sending our kids to daycare and letting other people, you know, influence our kids with these sort of things like gender ideology and all these other things. Like, we need to get back to basics, basic food. You know, there is only two genders. Like, we need to get back to science and basics, because, yeah, I'm going on a bit of a rant here, but I'll go for another couple of minutes. So if anyone wants to hang around, they can. But you know, I alluded to the fact about, you know, eating some fats and cholesterol is good for you, and that I went down that rabbit hole because when we had our second kid, my wife had gestational diabetes, and the diet they suggested for that, my God, it was they suggested 150 grams of carbs a day. And if anyone's a diabetic that's watching this, just know that diabetes is actually not a forever disease. It can be cured in like a month, you know. So I went down. I've gone down those rabbit holes, you know. And the more and more you look, the more and more you realise that all these things that you've been taught are just complete nonsense. You know, eating carbohydrates spikes insulin, and insulin makes you more hungry, and yeah, that's what diabetes is. Insulin spikes. So don't eat carbohydrates. Control your insulin, and don't get diabetes. And then you can think straight. And you can start to see all the bullshit. So, anyways, I'll leave you with the little diabetes rant at the end there. Maybe that's if you guys, maybe leave it in the comments if you guys want me to open up on that subject. Even though this is the Money Mindset Show, if you guys want any other personal rabbit holes that I've been down, I'm happy to chat about them. But obviously this is the Money Mindset Show, so we'll if you just want to learn about the money system and Bitcoins and all those things, and I'm happy, you know, I'll appreciate that. You know, you don't want to listen to some guy in high vis talking about, you know, diabetes and how fat he was. So anyways, I'll leave it there, guys, and I'll have a good Friday, and I'll see you guys in the next one.